I'm Christina, and growing up in our suburban home in Exton, Pennsylvania, I quickly realized that affection in my family wasn't freely given, it was earned, or in my case, rarely offered. My sister Courtney, 3 years my senior, claimed the spotlight from day one, the clear favorite in a household where my father Larry ran a steady law practice and my mother Alicia managed sales teams. The disparities hit hard and often, carving out my childhood in sharp contrasts. Courtney sailed through an elite private academy with tuition that could fund a small business, while I navigated the worn halls of the local public high school, dodging outdated equipment and indifferent resources. At 16, she cruised away in a sleek new Mercedes, fully loaded and gleaming. I patched together rides on public transit or borrowed my mother's aging compact that coughed through every commute. College for her meant a prestigious university, all expenses covered without a second thought. I juggled 3 part-time jobs to scrape through community college, then transferred to a state school on hard-won scholarships. The excuses flowed endlessly. Courtney required undivided focus. Her potential demanded investment. Her future justified every dollar. What that translated to was simple: she was valued, and I wasn't. Holidays amplified it, her gifts stacking high while mine stayed practical and sparse. Their pride beamed for her every minor achievement, posted endlessly online, but dimmed when it came to me, often reduced to a vague mention as the other daughter. I adapted by becoming self-reliant, retreating to plan my escape while she thrived on constant affirmation. That ingrained resilience fueled what came next, a path that led to unexpected success and a shattering family moment over Thanksgiving turkey, where revelations sparked chaos, screams from my aunt, and my dad's stunned silence. If you've ever navigated family favoritism or built your own path despite the odds, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more raw stories like this. Let's dive deeper in the next part. The disparities became even more pronounced in everyday life. Courtney's time at Haverford Preparatory granted her small seminar-style classes and dedicated mentors, with tuition costs that rivaled a year's rent but never prompted second thoughts from my parents. Exton Public High meant dealing with underfunded labs and generic curricula, where I had to supplement lessons with free online resources or group study sessions to stay competitive. Her weekends involved private tutoring sessions for standardized tests, fully paid, while I prepared alone with borrowed prep books from the public library, often staying up late to cover the material. Personal allowances extended the pattern. Courtney's monthly funds covered dining out and entertainment, amounting to sums that dwarfed my wages from after-school shifts at a grocery store. Wardrobe updates for her included seasonal hauls from premium outlets, complete with accessories and fittings, whereas I learned to repurpose old clothes through basic sewing techniques picked up from tutorials. Electronics for her arrived as upgrades, tablets, and headphones with the newest features delivered with fanfare. But I stuck with outdated models that required frequent repairs to function. Larry and Alicia's behaviors cemented the divide. Their enthusiasm peaked during Courtney's school events, attending every performance with glowing reviews shared among relatives. My own presentations or award ceremonies drew sporadic presence, often excused by conflicting schedules tied to her activities. At home gatherings, Dad recounted Courtney's social exploits with vivid detail, drawing laughter and admiration from guests, yet glossed over my volunteer work or academic honors as routine. Mom's digital albums showcased Courtney's daily adventures, from club meetings to casual outings, updated regularly with captions of pride, leaving my experiences unfeatured or added as afterthoughts. This ongoing treatment fostered my withdrawal as protection. I channeled frustration into meticulous planning, tracking expenses in a notebook to build a modest fund for unforeseen needs. Friendships at school provided outlets for expression, where shared projects built confidence absent from family interactions. Extracurricular involvement in debate teams honed communication skills, compensating for the lack of encouragement at home. Courtney's habitual demands for attention, always fulfilled with adjustments to family plans, highlighted my isolation. These experiences solidified my resolve, transforming daily oversights into lessons in endurance and foresight for a life beyond the confines of favoritism. High school graduation marked my breaking point. I packed my few belongings into duffel bags and left the Exton house without fanfare, determined to forge ahead independently. Community college enrollment came first, with tuition deadlines looming and no family safety net in sight. 3 jobs filled my schedule: early mornings stocking shelves at a warehouse, afternoons tutoring middle schoolers in math, evenings waiting tables at a diner, each shift calibrated to cover fees and basic living costs. The routine left little room for rest, but it built a rhythm of accountability that felt empowering after years of neglect. Transferring to a state university midway through required scraping together application materials and recommendation letters from professors who noticed my drive. Scholarships emerged from relentless applications, narrowing the gap left by loans I took cautiously to avoid debt traps. Campus life meant shared dorms with thin walls and cafeteria meals stretched thin. Yet the academic environment sparked genuine interest in biology and data analysis. Late-night study groups became lifelines, where collaborative problem-solving revealed my knack for pattern recognition in complex datasets. A job fair during junior year connected me to Biogen Innovations, a fledgling biotech startup in Olney, Maryland, specializing in predictive modeling for drug trials. The initial junior developer role involved coding algorithms to simulate molecular interactions, a perfect match for skills honed in isolation. Relocating meant a cross-state drive in my unreliable compact, landing in a cramped studio apartment where heating flickered inconsistently through Maryland winters. Oscar and Victoria, the founders with backgrounds from major pharma labs, spotted my potential during the first code review. They assigned challenging tasks beyond entry-level scope, optimizing neural networks for protein folding predictions that pushed boundaries but yielded quick results. Promotions followed within months, first to senior developer, then leading a small team on prototype deployments. Equity grants came early, vesting schedules tied to milestones I consistently hit, turning theoretical shares into tangible stakes. Daily commutes through Olney's tree-lined streets offered stability, a far cry from Pennsylvania's stifling dynamics. Renting a 2-bedroom with Amber, a nonprofit coordinator focused on health equity, created a supportive bubble. We split grocery runs and hosted low-key game nights, her steady presence countering ingrained trust issues. Weekends involved hiking nearby trails or coding side projects, fostering hobbies that filled voids left by family detachment. Recognizing deeper scars, I sought Dr. Brianna, a therapist specializing in familial estrangement. Sessions unpacked suppressed resentment, reframing childhood dismissals as catalysts for resilience rather than deficits. Techniques like journaling achievements and boundary-setting exercises clarified priorities, easing the weight of unacknowledged efforts. Progress meant fewer nightmares of overlooked milestones, replaced by confidence in solo decision-making. Biogen's growth accelerated with pilot contracts from research institutes, validating our software's accuracy in forecasting trial outcomes. My role expanded to oversee integrations with lab equipment, streamlining data flows that saved clients weeks in development cycles. Colleagues became chosen allies, engineers sharing lunch debates on ethics in biotech, marketers brainstorming user interfaces, forming bonds untainted by blood ties. Casual dating surfaced occasionally, though vulnerability remained guarded, with Dr. Brianna guiding explorations of intimacy without expectation. This foundation in Olney solidified independence, each professional win reinforcing the choice to depart. Equity paperwork arrived routinely, vesting portions that hinted at future security without immediate fanfare. Family calls dwindled to obligatory check-ins, met with perfunctory updates that skirted personal triumphs. The startup's trajectory promised more, unaware of the seismic shift brewing in boardrooms far removed from my daily grind. Several funding rounds later, momentum built. Biogen Innovations expanded from a core team of 15 to over 50 staff, securing investments that validated our approach to accelerating clinical trials through data-driven simulations. As lead developer, I coordinated cross-functional efforts, designing scalable architectures that integrated genomic datasets with real-time analytics. Equity allocations grew with each milestone, transforming initial grants into substantial holdings as valuation climbed through Series A and B infusions. Client partnerships with academic centers and mid-tier pharma firms boosted revenue, allowing infrastructure upgrades that enhanced model precision and reduced computational overhead. Olney provided a grounded base for this phase, with its quiet neighborhoods and proximity to regional hubs fostering a sense of permanence. Mornings started with jogs along local paths, clearing mental clutter before diving into code reviews. Evenings often involved casual meetups at community cafes, where conversations with neighbors ranged from local events to shared interests in sustainable tech. A circle of acquaintances formed organically, colleagues organizing trivia nights, a book club focused on science nonfiction offering connections free from past shadows. Dating entered the picture sporadically, with apps leading to relaxed outings like park walks or indie film screenings. These interactions stayed light, revealing gradual openness to vulnerability without rushing commitments. Trust built slowly, informed by self-reflection on relational patterns that prioritized autonomy. Financial habits remained prudent, with budgeting apps tracking modest expenditures on essentials and occasional treats, ensuring stability amid rising responsibilities. Family contact thinned to infrequent exchanges, limited to holiday texts or brief calls that skimmed surfaces. Mom dominated these rare conversations, pivoting quickly from polite inquiries about my routine to extended recaps of Courtney's pursuits, her voice animated with details I tuned out. Dad joined sporadically, his questions about my biotech role carrying a detached curiosity, as if the field existed in abstract terms. I offered minimal responses, steering away from personal milestones to avoid unwanted scrutiny. Updates on Courtney filtered through Aunt Valerie during occasional emails or calls, her tone neutral but informative. Courtney's venture into personal styling collapsed after a few months, inventory unsold and client feedback highlighting inconsistent delivery. A subsequent push for a master's in marketing ended abruptly. Coursework deemed overwhelming despite parental subsidies for tuition and living expenses. These setbacks looped back to reliance on Larry and Alicia, with temporary moves home and financial bailouts sustaining her cycle of starts and stops. Valerie's accounts painted a pattern of unfulfilled ambitions, from fleeting influencer attempts to boutique consulting that never gained traction. Requests for assistance surfaced indirectly at first, then more overtly in messages from Courtney seeking advice or subtle hints for loans. I declined each time, citing my own commitments and a desire to maintain boundaries. Focus shifted inward, channeling energy into professional certifications that deepened expertise in machine learning applications for biotech. Weekend workshops on emerging tools sharpened skills, while volunteer coding sessions for open-source health projects added purpose beyond the office. The company's trajectory accelerated with prototype validations, drawing interest from larger entities, eyeing our tech for portfolio integration. My contributions earned recognition in internal memos, affirming value in ways long absent from family contexts. Equity statements arrived quarterly, reflecting compounded growth that promised long-term security without altering my understated lifestyle. Olney's community events, like farmers markets or tech meetups, reinforced this equilibrium, blending professional gains with personal contentment. A pivotal acquisition rumor surfaced months into this stability. Biogen's Series C round brought in substantial capital from venture firms specializing in health tech, elevating our platform's capabilities with enhanced servers and expanded datasets. Equity values surged accordingly, with my vested portions appreciating significantly as market confidence grew. Colleagues cashed out partial stakes during interim liquidity events, pocketing sums that enabled home down payments or debt clearances, but intuition urged me to retain full holdings. The founder's optimism about long-term impact reinforced this choice, prioritizing vision over immediate gains. Whispers of buyout interest evolved into formal discussions, with a major pharmaceutical conglomerate eyeing our tech for seamless incorporation into their R&D pipeline. Negotiations spanned quarters, involving due diligence audits and prototype demonstrations that showcased our edge in reducing trial failures. The deal's structure preserved key roles for original staff, ensuring continuity amid transition. Closing timelines stretched through regulatory reviews, heightening anticipation without disrupting daily operations. The announcement came during an all-hands assembly, where Oscar and Victoria outlined terms that elicited audible reactions, founders securing generational wealth. Early employees like me positioned for transformative payouts. Post-tax calculations, factored by my advisor, projected around $30 million, accounting for federal brackets and state implications. The wire transfer's arrival prompted multiple app refreshes in the quiet of my apartment, the figure materializing as undeniable proof of accumulated efforts. Sharing the news with Amber unfolded naturally over coffee, her initial disbelief giving way to shared awe as we stared at the screen. Her grounded perspective helped process the surreal shift, emphasizing strategic planning over impulsivity. Decisions followed methodically, retaining my position to guide integration, leveraging expertise in a familiar setting while exploring broader contributions. Housing upgrades materialized discreetly, a modest property in Olney's hilly outskirts, offering serene views and privacy without ostentation. Investment strategies took shape through consultations with professionals, directing funds into diversified portfolios of index trackers and sustainable real estate ventures. Charitable allocations supported STEM education initiatives for underserved youth, echoing paths I had navigated alone. Daily routines adjusted subtly, incorporating wellness practices like yoga sessions to maintain balance amid newfound options. Social circles remained unchanged, with gatherings focused on genuine interactions rather than status displays. Secrecy defined the approach, avoiding announcements that might invite complications. Courtney's sporadic messages escalated in frequency, weaving tales of financial pinches amid her ongoing ventures, subtly probing for support. Responses stayed firm and concise, reiterating self-sufficiency without elaboration on my circumstances. These exchanges stirred fleeting reflections on shared origins, but resolve held, prioritizing boundaries established through hard-won independence. Biogen's post-acquisition phase introduced collaborative projects with the parent entity's divisions, enriching workflows with advanced resources. My team's output accelerated, delivering updates that optimized drug candidate screenings and minimized ethical risks. Professional networks expanded through conferences, where presentations on our methodologies drew acclaim, affirming individual merit in collective success. Personal growth paralleled this, with reading lists delving into financial literacy and philanthropy models, ensuring informed stewardship of resources. The windfall's implications settled gradually, enabling pursuits like travel seminars on biotech ethics without disrupting core commitments. Olney's evolving landscape, new cafes, and community centers mirrored this internal evolution, blending familiarity with subtle enhancements. Equity's full realization underscored the journey's arc, a quiet testament to persistence amid earlier dismissals. An unexpected invitation arrived weeks later. Mom's call broke the routine silence, her insistence on a full family Thanksgiving in Exton carrying an undercurrent of urgency that piqued my curiosity. Hesitation gripped me initially, memories of past dismissals resurfacing. But a lingering pull toward closure nudged acceptance. Booking a hotel in nearby Chester County ensured space from the old dynamics, framing the visit as a brief interlude rather than immersion. The drive back to Pennsylvania stirred mixed sensations, familiar highways evoking echoes of departure without nostalgia. Pulling into the driveway revealed Courtney's latest vehicle, a luxury SUV parked prominently, signaling continued indulgences. Inside, the house retained its polished colonial facade, scents of baking pies mingling with polished wood. Mom greeted with a tentative embrace, commenting on my appearance in ways that skirted deeper observations. Courtney emerged from an upstairs room, her attire curated from recent trends, eyes scanning my casual outfit with subtle judgment. She launched into descriptions of her impending condo purchase in Philadelphia, detailing upscale features and prime location, emphasizing her role in negotiations while glossing over Dad's contribution to the down payment. The condescension laced her tone, positioning her choices as sophisticated against my perceived simplicity in Olney. Relatives trickled in throughout the afternoon, filling the space with overlapping conversations. Aunt Valerie arrived with Uncle Mark and their son Paul, her warm inquiries about my well-being standing out amid the bustle. She probed gently about daily rhythms and satisfactions, her attentiveness a rare acknowledgement that eased some internal tension. Uncle Mark's wife, Veronica, followed with Nathan, her husband, adding to the assembly with light anecdotes from their lives. Preparations escalated toward dinner, with the table set elaborately fine china, multiple wine selections, centerpieces evoking harvest abundance. Seating arranged Dad at the head, Courtney beside him in prime position. Myself slotted between Paul and Veronica. Chatter flowed initially on neutral grounds, touching weather patterns and local developments. But Courtney steered discussions toward her visions. She elaborated on condo amenities, rooftop access, concierge services, custom interiors, dropping references to exclusive neighborhoods and projected appreciations. Dad nodded approvingly, interjecting affirmations of her discernment and foresight. Mom circulated with appetizers, echoing praise for Courtney's taste and how early opportunities honed such acumen. The atmosphere thickened with unspoken comparisons, my contributions unprompted and overlooked. Paul, navigating his teenage perspective, captured moments discreetly on his device, his quiet observation adding an unseen layer to the gathering. Veronica engaged in side talks about community volunteering, her enthusiasm contrasting the main thread. Nathan contributed sparingly, focusing on logistical details like travel routes back home, as plates filled with traditional fair turkey carvings, stuffing mounds, cranberry accents. The conversation shifted organically. Uncle Mark, drawing from his financial background, inquired about my professional path, his curiosity genuine amid the dominant narratives. Responses outlined Biogen's evolution without specifics, but his follow-up on growth metrics edged toward revelations of the recent acquisition, setting an inadvertent stage for disclosures. Internal calculations weighed the moment, awareness of equity's implications hovering unspoken. Courtney's interjections aimed to redirect, but the query lingered, pulling threads that threatened to unravel the evening's facade. The buildup simmered beneath polite exchanges, a prelude to tensions long suppressed. Dessert plates cleared as revelations unfolded. Uncle Mark's follow-up pressed for specifics on the acquisition's scale, pulling the truth into focus amid the lingering after-dinner haze. The equity payout surfaced in response $30 million after deductions, triggering an immediate fracture in the room's fragile calm. Courtney bolted upright, her chair scraping harshly against the floor, voice escalating into piercing cries of denial and outrage, hands clenching as if to grasp the evaporating narrative of superiority. Aunt Valerie's sharp intake erupted into a scream of pure astonishment, her composure crumbling as the implications registered, body rigid in disbelief. Dad sat motionless, gaze locked downward in a stupor of processing, his usual authority absent in the face of upheaval. Paul, positioned unobtrusively, activated a discreet recording on his device, preserving the unraveling without drawing attention. Mom's attempts at order dissolved into fragmented gestures, her serving role abandoned in the sudden void. The moment ignited a torrent of pent-up articulations, laying bare the systemic favoritism that defined our paths. Courtney's advantages replayed in stark inventory: unquestioned access to premium education, vehicular luxuries at key ages, financial cushions for every whim set against my trajectory of relentless self-funding and improvised solutions. This disparity bred her perpetual dependence, while forging my adaptability through necessity. A dynamic that now demanded acknowledgement in the charged atmosphere. Courtney's defenses crumbled into hysterical rebuttals, asserting her inherent worth while dismissing my outcomes as anomalies, undeserving of recognition. Valerie's interjections sought to de-escalate, her voice strained with regret for unspoken interventions earlier. Veronica shifted uncomfortably, offering muted support to Mom, while Nathan remained peripheral, absorbing the discord without engagement. The exchange peeled away layers of pretense, exposing the emotional toll of unequal investments. Resolution crystallized in departure, steps measured toward the exit. Leaving the tableau of disarray behind, the hotel room's anonymity provided immediate solace, a barrier against the night's residue. Subsequent outreach: persistent calls from Alicia, erratic messages from Courtney. Even a formal letter from Larry met with absolute silence, a permanent closure to channels that offered only conditional regard. Consequences rippled outward in the following months, manifesting intangible declines. Courtney's fragility led to professional collapses, accumulating debts that forced reliance on state unemployment programs, her lifestyle unsustainable without external props. Larry's vitality waned under cumulative strain, medical episodes isolating him further in retirement. Alicia encountered social erosion, whispers amplified by Paul's circulated footage permeating extended circles, fracturing her community standing. This severance underscored autonomy's rewards, liberating from entanglements that hindered fulfillment. Independence cultivated through trials delivered unassailable freedom, a contrast to inherited privileges that often masked vulnerabilities. For those witnessing similar imbalances, the takeaway centered on equitable bonds as the true foundation of family strength, empowering individuals to define worth beyond bestowed favors and pursue paths aligned with personal integrity.